form ni Senador Gatchalian. Pakinggan ang ulat ni Patrol 19, Celi Ortega Bueno.
Titigilan ni Senator Win Gatchalian ang sinumang dayuhang magtangkang kumuha ng Filipino citizenship katulad ng kaso ni Alice Guo o Guwaping. Ito niyag ni Senator Gatchalian kasunod ng inihain niya na panukalang batas para sa pagbuo ng bagong sistema ng civil registration and vital statistics. Ayon kay Gatchalian, nais niya na magkaroon ng bagong civil registration and vital statistics system para wala nang sumulpot na isa na namang Alice Guo na nagpapanggap na Pilipino at gustong makapasok sa gobyerno para manloko. Layon ng Philippine Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Act na inakda ni Gatchalian na magpatupad ng isang moderno at pinasimpleng sistema ng pagpaparehistro na tutukoy ng pinakatama na pagkakakilanlan ng isang individual para sa layuning administratibo at legal. Ang panukalang batas ay nagpapataw ng mas mataas na parusa para sa pamimeke ng mga dokumento ng civil registry, pagsumite ng maling impormasyon sa civil registration at pagpapadali ng paghahanda ng mga dokumento ng civil registry na naglalaman ng mapanlinlang na impormasyon. Batay sa datos ng Philippine Statistics Authority o PSA noong November 2024, hinarang na ng ahensya ang 1,627 kahina-hinalang birth certificates na may kaugnayan sa mga dayuhan. 18 sa mga ito inendorso na sa Office of the Solicitor General para sa cancellation. Ito sa Patrol 19, Celi Ortega Bueno, para sa impilang metodong lakas sa DWIZ. Nagbabalita ng tama, naglilingkod ng tama.
DWIZ News Catch Up! News Catch Up!
At yan ang mga tamang balita sa mga oras na ito. Mag-follow at subscribe sa lahat ng DWIZ News Digital Channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, DWIZ News App at DWIZ News website. Ako po si John Riz Galata, nagbabalita ng tama, naglilingkod ng tama.
Oras-oras nagbabalita ng tama, naglilingkod ng tama. DWIZ News Catch Up! News Catch Up!
DWIZ!
DWIZ Life Balance kasama sina Daryl Justin at Guia Rafael.
Balik tayo, Life Balance sa DWIZ 882. Ako si Daryl Justin.
At ako naman si Guia Rafael.
Ayun. So sa oras na ito, partner, ibigyan na natin ulit kay Doc ang iyong Pavitane question.
Oo nga pala, may pabitin question ako. Muntik nang
masagi sa isip. Go.
Ayun na nga, Dok. Meron po bang misconceptions tungkol sa involvement ng weight sa PCOS na dapat pong ma-address o malaman ng mga tao, lalo na yung mga may PCOS o yung lalo na rin yung mga walang PCOS na mga nakakabasa lang ng mga kwento online?
The underlying factors for polycystic ovarian syndrome, is really the insulin resistance. And there have been studies that show that the fat, yung adiposity, kumbaga sa katawan, nakaka-contribute siya dun sa insulin resistance na yun. Is it one pathway? Hindi siya clear. Pero may mga patients kasi that when they lose the weight, even like just 10%, then suddenly they kind of regain yung menstrual regularity, nag-i-improve din yung insulin resistance nila. So I think it goes hand in hand. Pero it doesn't mean that na payat ka or you're like slim and within the a good weight na hindi ka magkakaroon ng polycystic ovarian syndrome. Pwede ka pa rin magkaroon ng polycystic ovarian syndrome kasi may iba pang other pathways kung bakit nagkakaroon ng PCOS.
At least clear yun sa mga viewers and listeners natin na hindi porket feeling mo ang ganda-ganda, parang perfect shaped person ka, immune ka na kagad for that one. Ayun. Ngayon naman, Doc, let's go with the diagnosis and symptoms. Since natanong na natin kung paano na-diagnose yung PCOS kanina, ano usually, Doc, yung mga tests na ginagamit nyo to determine that diagnosis?
Commonly, it's more of clinical. But sometimes we do use the ultrasound, like usually a transrectal or transvaginal ultrasound to see the cyst. Other test that we do is more of yung sa background niya. So one more important thing that we test is the sugar. So really the best one is what we call a 75-gram oral glucose tolerance test. So you take the sugar, para may concoction, tapos mini-measure, sinusukat kung ano yung asukal mo sa dugo.
Ay, parang
So,
I heard of that na nga. Oo.
medyo tedious siya and for patients kasi you have to be extracted, 'di ba? At a level after a certain period, tas may after 1 hour, 2 hours. The other tests that are done, fasting blood glucose and what we also call HB1AC, they are sometimes used if it's the 75-gram OGTT is not available. But for PCOS, the 75-gram OGTT is more sensitive kasi. So that's one. So we check for your insulin resistance, tsaka yun nga, if you have a problem, baka may diabetes ka na pala, so that would also impact kung anong management after. If we need to give you some of these medications to address the diabetes. Other tests that we also check, kasi since most of them nga, irregular yung period, when they come to you, you have to make sure that they don't have other problems. Baka kasi naman, pwede kasing sabay eh. Sometimes thyroid dysfunction, so we also check the thyroid and also prolactin para lang hindi siya ma-avoid. But we also check for cholesterol. So we do a lipid profile test. Marami kasing different types of cholesterol. Meron ding good cholesterol. So we want to see if it's at the appropriate levels. So those are what we test. And of course, that goes without saying na chinek yung blood pressure ng patient, di ba? Because some of them can be like hypertensive, ganyan. And the weight, we also check those things. So, but really to diagnose polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's more of clinical because it's the menstrual period, it can be the acne, the skin manifestation, yun nga, the hair or the baldness, and also comes in yung sa ultrasound. Mainly the ultrasound, but it is not a requirement kasi pwede kang mag-diagnose ng polycystic ovarian syndrome without an ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
Eto, Dok, since yung mga symptoms po na lumalabas or nararamdaman natin is iba-iba, di ba? Pwedeng kunyari, pareho tayo ng sakit, pero iba yung naranasan mo.
Parang case-to-case
naranasan.
basis eh, kasi
Oo.
depende naman din ata sa immune system ng isang tao yun eh, kung paano mo makukuha yung nararamdaman mo for that one.
Kaya, Dok, ano po yung mga early signs ng PCOS na dapat bantayan ng mga babae?
Mainly it's the menstrual irregularity. Kasi a lot of the Filipino women, they think that, for example, their periods were not regular when they were younger, nung teenagers sila. Tingin nila, okay lang, they're already well into their 20s, na they're missing out on the menstrual period. Tsaka, for some patients, parang, mas okay nga, hindi ako nag-period, di ba, na nag-skip. The downside of that is, as long na kumakapal yung lining mo, may mga other factors na mag-impact in the future. And also, if you want to be fertile, di ba, if you have the desire to be pregnant, then these are things that you have to watch out for. So, hindi lang siya the weight gain eh. Sometimes it's the acne also, di ba? Na nagpe-present siya na it's not mainly, it might not be addressed by your usual dermatologic products. Hindi siya na-address nun. So, maybe there is an underlying metabolic problem. And sometimes, yun nga, yung sa hair. If merong mga patients na they have the hair in areas where not usually found pag sa babae, then these are things na dapat not only, syempre pag teenager ka, hindi mo masyadong naisip yun. Maybe the parents can also help. Or kunyari, especially if the mom or the sisters have, then maybe you have to be mas vigilant ka kung meron kang relatives na gano'n.
Ay, Dok, eto, ang PCOS ba, hereditary siya? Hindi naman.
It can be. So there are already some genes na nakikita nila, but nothing na parang as strong as, kunyari, some of the breast cancer, di ba, na talagang may specific gene. But there are already some genes that are coming around na parang maybe it has some link because there are studies that show 70% you can get it from your relatives. But it's a complex disease, so there is a genetic component, but there's also the environmental factors that are coming in.
Kapag ka, Doc, nakapag-diagnose kayo ng isang patient with PCOS, how often do you ask a particular patient to have a regular checkup with you?
So, the initial part is really, depende kasi kung ano yung problem niya. And usually it's the menses. So, you try to give them something to regularize that menses.
Okay.
So, initially it would be like more frequent muna. If it's manifestation naman kasi is more of hirsutism yung hair, it would take some time. Sometimes 3 to 6 months. And syempre, if it's not being addressed, the common medication that we give, of course, will be your your combined, your what commonly yung contraceptive pills, diba? So it's called contraceptive pills, but really it's a medication. These are hormones that we give. We try to correct that imbalance. So the other parts would be if you have some we also can give your metformin yung to address mainly because especially if there's obesity, kung mayroong problem sa timbang. Tsaka syempre, I think you're hearing more of these other drugs, the Ozempic or the seraglutides or liraglutides. These are your GLP-1 receptor antagonist. So these ones, we have found that they can address not just the metabolic problem, even yung menstrual problems. Ang hindi lang niya masyado na-address maybe is the cholesterol. But it also promotes weight loss. So it's one of the things that are being prescribed or recommended right now, especially if these patients want to be pregnant. Kasi you want yung optimal time eh. Kasi if, for example, for women, at age 35, the eggs, the quality of it might not be the same. So if you're consulting at a more advanced age, then you'd want to give all of these treatments kumbaga, mas effective. Kasi hindi naman running out of time. Pero you want to achieve a certain level na mas maganda na yung sugar mo, mas maganda na yung weight mo before you become pregnant. Kasi 'di ba, syempre, if you also become pregnant and then you're hypertensive, you're diabetic, malaki yung weight mo, then it becomes a high-risk pregnancy altogether.
Okay. Magpabitin ka na naman.
Eto. Ewan ko, natanong mo ba to kanina?
Pero parang...
Kung ang PCOS ba lifelong condition o na-outgrow siya ng mga tao?
Ay, parang hindi. Pero yan, ibibitin muna natin si Doc doon sa katanungan na yon.
Tatanong ko siya.
Dahil oras na naman para kumita tayo. Wala ulit maglilipat ng stasyon ng radyo at ng channel ng TV. Kasi partner...
Tayo po ay magbe-break muna.
DWIZ Life Balance kasama sina Daryl Justin at Guia Rafael.
Tunay na mahirap mag-ipon sa ngayon, ngunit mas mahirap ang hinaharap na walang ipon. Kung nais mong matulungan sa pagpaplano ng inyong kinabukasan at ng inyong pamilya, bumisita sa Fortune Life website www.fortunelife.com. Siguraduhin i-like at i-follow ang kanilang Facebook page at Instagram account. I-search lamang ang Fortune Life PH. Fortune Life, securing your tomorrow today.
Dahil ang dating ng DWIZ ay nationwide, kailangan mabalitaan mo ang mga nagbabagang balita saan man ito sa Pilipinas. Hatid ng buong puwersa ng DWIZ News Gathering Team. Hatid ang programang magbibigay ng tamang impormasyon na galing sa lahat ng region sa buong bayan. DWIZ Network News. Bida ang lahat ng DWIZ regional stations at lahat ng news correspondents sa lahat ng lugar sa bayan. Kasama sina Angelo Bainio at Maine Barreto. Naka-live sa DWIZ Manila at lahat ng DWIZ regional stations sa buong Pilipinas. Mapapanood din sa Aliw Channel 23 at lahat ng DWIZ digital channels, Facebook, YouTube at DWIZ News website Monday to Friday 1 p.m. DWIZ Network News. Ang mga malalaking mga balita, ang mga matitinding mga pinag-uusapan, ang mga maiinit at pinagtatalunang mga issue. Lahat hagip, lahat malalaman. Hindi lang sa buong Metro at Mega Manila. Kasama na ang buong Pilipinas. Hahagupit na ang mga malalaking issue sa Ronda Pilipinas. Live na live sa DWIZ AM Metro at Mega Manila. Naka-live din sa DWIZ News FM Regional Stations. Naka-live din sa Radyo Ronda AM Radio sa Pilipinas. Live ding mapapanood sa Aliw 23 Free TV. At naka-live din sa lahat ng DWIZ Digital News accounts, Facebook, YouTube at DWIZ News website. Ronda Pilipinas! Wala nang mahuhuli sa balita. Wala nang maiiwanang issue na hindi mo alam. Ngayon, updated ka na sa Ronda Pilipinas! Kasama si Dennis Antenor Jr. Ronda Pilipinas! Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. What's up, Pilipinas? What's up, Pilipino? Sana diretso ang araw mo na payapa, tahimik at maunlad. Tara, sali ka na sa programang may usapang pangkapayapaan, usapang pangkaunlaran sa Up Pilipinas. Usapang pangkapayapaan, usapang pangkaunlaran Pilipinas. Kasali ang lahat sa kwentuhang pambayan. Live na live sa DWIZ Manila. Live din sa Aliw 23 Free TV. At pwedeng i-follow sa lahat ng DWIZ Facebook, YouTube. At pwede ring mapanood sa DWIZ News app. Kasama si retired Brigadier General Jeff Zamudio at ang batikang broadcaster na sina Andy Vital at Emil Carion. Up Pilipinas. Usapang pangkapayapaan. Usapang pangkaunlaran Pilipinas. Tuwing Tuesday to Friday, 7 p.m. DWIZ! DWIZ Life Balance. Kasama sina Daryl Justin at Guia Rafael.
Balik tayo sa life balance. Wait lang, nag-excuse lang saglit si Guia Rafael. Water break. Pero it's okay. Doc Rom, ako na yung magbabalik dun sa pabiting question ni Guia kanina before we went into a break. Na is PCOS, ito nasagot na sa akin ni Doc off-air pero i-share na rin namin on-air, kung lifelong condition ba ang PCOS or can it be outgrown?
Okay. What I want to underscore really, it's lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifetime lifestyle disease. In the sense that, yes, you can have a better control of your polycystic ovarian syndrome by having better metabolic balance, by maybe having that good diet, or if you already have a background of the diabetes, that maybe you also have to take these medications. But polycystic ovarian syndrome, there is a risk that you can develop hypertension. You are at higher risk for the diabetes mellitus later on, for the cholesterol. So that's why it's more of a lifetime lifestyle disease. That's why at the first consult, these are things that we screen. And as they follow up, we need to regularly screen again just to make sure that their sugar levels are okay, the insulin resistance is being handled, tsaka wala yung mga other problems like your cholesterol which can contribute to other diseases later on.
Okay, ngayon naman Doc, I have another question na napag-usapan din natin to kanina while we were in a break and baka para din for enlightenment of viewers, you're back? Okay lang. Sabi lang you're back. Pero ito, para ma-catch mo yung next question na meron, partner. Doc, ano ba yung mga most common treatment options for managing PCOS?
Okay. So, since most of the patients would come in with irregular or absent menses, then we do give them some form of contraceptive or your pills. So, it's usually a combination of your estrogen and your progesterone. So, ngayon, there's a certain level. There are doses. That's why you have to go to your friendly OBGYN kung ano yung best na ma-prescribe nila for you. But aside from that, there are also medications such as your metformin, which is like a diabetic, anti-diabetic, is supposed to address your diabetes, but it has been found to improve the overall insulin resistance and also has some contributions to the weight loss and even the menstrual cycles. There's also one in the market right now, the inositol. So inositol, and then it gets further metabolized into maybe what other people will use, the D-chiroinositol. So it improves the uptake of the glucose. So ganun pa rin. It goes back to that whole, yung ayaw natin na maraming insulin, masyadong maraming sugar sa blood. And then, we go back also, or we now go forward to your like anti-obesity drugs. That's what they're coming in. Your GLP-1 receptor antagonist, your liraglutides, or seraglutides, yun nga. Some people will hear them Saxenda and your Ozempic. So because these are ones that have improvement not only in the metabolism, in the menstrual irregularity, and it also so maybe not the cholesterol. So yun, for the cholesterol, we also give some medication. But mostly, we all start, of course, with diet modification. Then, dependent on the type and the elevation of the cholesterol, if we need to give drugs to with the statins to address these things. So, those are the common ones. But if the problem is really your acne and hirsutism, so it has to work hand in hand. So, some of the combination pills can also address the acne and also address the hirsutism, yung excess hair.
Okay.
But sometimes, naka 6 months in na, madami pa rin hair. So, we have sometimes to refer them to for laser removal ng hair.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's another. It depends on ano yung most distressing. Kasi you can imagine, if you're a girl, tas ang hairy mo, and then if you have a lot of acne. So, these are also can cause anxiety and also some body dysmorphic issues with our patients.
Apektuhan pa yung self-esteem.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
Pero
partner, go.
Doc, speaking of drugs or gamot, meron po bang pwedeng inumin ng isang babaeng may PCOS para ma-regulate yung period niya?
Yes. So, usually we give them the pills. The combination of your estrogen and progesterone. But we also have to look at the other risk factors because not everyone will be a good candidate for these combination
Yan
pills.
po bang pills na yan? Yan na po yung birth control pills.
Yes, it's more commonly known as your birth control pills, but it's called birth control, but really, these are medications. They're hormones that we give so that we can also provide that balance.
Aside from that, Doc, may medications pa ba to help regulate periods and improve na rin yung ovulation sa mga babae na may PCOS?
Well, yes, the inositol, they can contribute, the metformin, and sometimes they say that if you lose your weight because of the anti-obesity drugs, then maybe that also helps regulate the period. But mainly, the regulation of the period will be from these. Some patients, it depends on really on what you get to discuss with your OBGYN. But for the some respond well to just metformin, some can respond well to the inositol.
Ayan. May nakita ko pinapatanong ata ng newsroom. I think it's about the side effects. Tama ba ako? Tingin niya, I think side effects of those medicines, Doc. Ano bang magiging impact nun? Or is it grave or light lang naman yung magiging side effects nito?
Well, the birth control pills or the oral contraceptive pills cannot be given for patients who have uncontrolled hypertension.
Okay.
They also cannot be given for patients who have some blood clots kasi there's an increased risk for having what we call deep vein thrombosis, yung nagkakaroon ka ng blood clot sa legs. Okay? Or some other parts, sometimes that can go to other locations, no? And then also for patients who have liver problems, we usually cannot give. So, the side effects per se, some patients may have some feeling of bloatedness, but not everyone would experience that. And usually they resolve after the first few months that you're taking your oral contraceptive pills. That's why you hear the patients, hindi ako hiyang. So, there are some aspects of that. But the other medications, like for example, the anti-obesity drugs, sometimes there's some gastrointestinal effects. So, yun yung binabantayan natin. That's why we give it parang simula yun, low dose muna before we increase. Similar for your metformin, syempre we want to avoid naman na biglang nag-hypoglycemia, di ba? Na bigla na lang bumaba masyado naging effective yung glucose uptake mo sa blood. So, there can be some side effects, but more often than not, these are limited. And we discuss it also with the patient so that they know what to watch out for and that we can also titrate or adjust kung ano yung kailangan ng patient.
Pero Doc, bukod po dun sa drugs and pills nga po, meron po bang natural remedies or supplements na pwedeng gamitin pang gamot ng PCOS? And kung meron man po, gaano po ba ka-effective yung mga yun?
Currently, it's not like so we have some herbal medications or plants, example, yung lagundi, ganyan, which are recognized and have the studies that support it. But natural remedies per se, wala pa talaga yung very strong in terms of sinabi mong, okay, pag ito yung tinake mo, and then definitely gagaling yung. So maybe it's a combination because after all, it's lifestyle, it's also rooted in the diet. So yun na yung pumapasok yung mga environmental factors, okay? So when we look at the natural remedies, kasi even the hormones, there's natural estrogen. So, di ba? So it depends eh. Parang ano ba yung ibig sabihin natin ng natural? Halamang gamot ba siya?
Yun
Diba?
nga yung na-imagine.
Diba?
Yeah.
Dikdik pa.
Parang
Dini-
pagka sinabi mo kasi
Pwede
na
rin juice.
na mga natural remedies kagad, wala na ibang papasok agad sa isip mo. It's just herbal. Herbal.
Mga
Herbal.
dahon-dahon.
So, maybe more of, it's because the carbohydrates, they play a large role with the insulin resistance. So, usually, what we advise is that the patients have to veer more towards your more plant-based siguro. Hindi naman kailangan vegetarian. But sometimes, what could be an example of this diet? Yung mga Mediterranean diet, di ba? More of healthier sources of your carbohydrates or more of the plants and maybe good fats like your olive oil, yung mga nuts, doon sila galing.
Okay. Partner, as much as I want to extend the conversation, we have a few more minutes left. Doc, siguro, any advice or tips na lang na pwede niyo ibigay sa mga viewers and listeners who are probably diagnosed na with PCOS? Kasi karamihan sa kanila, minsan parang iniisip nila, PCOS, parang, hindi ko alam, baka may iba kasi end of the world na may hirapan na ako, this and that. Anything that you would want to say or advice to them, Doc?
Okay. So, for patients who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, since it's a problem that arises from people usually who have problems with fertility, it doesn't mean that you will not have a successful pregnancy. Maybe it will just take in a little more work and it will take a little more time, but it doesn't mean that it's not achievable. That's one. The second reminder would be that do not forget that it is a lifestyle disease. It's something that you have for a long time because there are other, kumbaga may mga kapatid na mga sakit na kasama siya. That's why you have to be vigilant and to also keep things in check. And maybe the last would be that if you tend to overlook tendency kasi mga health-seeking behaviors lalo na, di ba, para if hindi pa malala, hindi pa magpapa-check up, polycystic ovarian syndrome is an increased risk factor for your endometrial cancer. Okay? Because if you're not having your regular period, there is a tendency for that endometrial lining to kin. So, doon namin nakikita these cancer patients of the womb na less than 30 years old. Diba? So, in the background na may obesity sila, diabetes, and then the polycystic ovarian syndrome. So, these are just parang food for thought na parang we try as much as possible to take care of ourselves. And the menstrual cycle and menstrual period is also one way of your body telling you that maybe there's something that you have to work on.
Ayan. Doc, quickly na lang to those, baka kasi may mga gustong magpa-consult or magpa-seek sa inyo sa clinics ninyo, baka pwedeng i-share ninyo sa kanila kung saan kayo located and any contact information on social media that they can reach you, Doc. Go ahead.
Of course, I'm from Makati Medical Center, so you can check our website and also contact us for scheduling regarding consultations. But I'm also online in Sirius MD.
Ayun. Doc Rom, maraming salamat. And as we do it a tradition here sa Life Balance, dahil nabitin, malamang ikaw marami ka pa.
Oo.
So magre-request kami, Doc, ng Part 2.
Baka naman,
Sana
Doc.
mapaunlakan mo kami next time.
Of course.
Ayan. Doc, maraming salamat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doc. Ingat po.
Once again, that was Dr. Rom Imperio Onglao, isa pong OBGYN. Partner, ubos na ubos ang oras natin, kaya...
Okay, eto na. Diyan nagtatapos ang inyong bagong 6 p.m. habit sa DWIZ na Life Balance. Huwag niyo po kaming kakalimutang samahan gabi-gabi hanggang alas 7.
Napapakinggan sa DWIZ 882 Metro and Mega Manila, DWIZ News TV nationwide at sa social media platforms via live streaming.
At sa ngalan ng buong pwersa ng Aliw Broadcasting Corporation, ako po si Guia Rafael.
At ako naman si Daryl Justin at ito ang Life Balance.
DWIZ Life Balance kasama sina Daryl Justin at Guia Rafael. This is the news and information station of Aliw Broadcasting Corporation, reaching and engaging every Filipino.